You know, right now, inside of you, there's a war being fought. A silent, microscopic battle that happens every single second of every single day. Today, we're going to the front lines of that war, inside the most incredible machine on Earth, your body.
So think about it for a second. In this constant, invisible war, who exactly are the enemies trying to breach your defenses? And maybe more importantly, who is the guardian? Who's the protector that stands watch, keeping you safe? Well, that's what we're here to find out.
Okay, so to really get a grip on this battle, we first have to understand the territory we're defending. We have to talk about what health really is and why it feels like it's constantly under siege.
Now, you might think health is just, not being sick, but it's so much more than that. The official definition is a state of complete well-being. That's physical, mental, and even social. It's not just about the absence of a disease. And that idea is huge because it tells us that our mind, our relationships, our environment, they're all part of the battlefield.
So the threats to our health kind of fall into two major categories. On one side, you've got infectious diseases. These are the ones we catch from other people caused by outside invaders. Think the common cold, AIDS, or typhoid. But then on the other side, you have the non-infectious diseases. You can't catch these from someone else. They come from inside, our genetics, our lifestyle, or just when our own body's machinery makes a mistake. This is where things like genetic disorders and cancer come in.
All right, let's zoom in on that first group, the infectious kind. It's time to pull back the curtain and meet the microscopic invaders that are trying to get in.
The official name for these little troublemakers is pathogens, and it's a real rogues gallery. You've got bacteria, these single-celled organisms that can live on their own. Then there are viruses, which are basically tiny biological hijackers. They're useless until they get inside our cells. And it doesn't stop there. There's also fungi, protozoans, and even larger parasites like worms. It's a pretty diverse army out there.
And this story, man, it just perfectly shows you how sneaky these pathogens can be. Meet Typhoid Mary. She was a cook back in the early 1900s, and she felt perfectly fine, but she was carrying the bacteria that causes typhoid fever. And because she was a cook, she unknowingly spread it to dozens and dozens of people over years, just by making them dinner. It's an incredible reminder that an invasion can be completely silent.
But okay, for every invader, there has to be a defense, right? So, we've met the villains. Now let's meet the hero of our story, the body's guardian, the immune system.
So what is immunity, really? It's not just one thing. It's the overall ability of your entire body to fight off those pathogens we just met. It's this incredibly complex, coordinated system with one single purpose: to keep you safe.
Think of your immune system as having two main strategies. First up is your innate immunity. This is your front line, your fortress walls. It's the stuff you're born with, like your skin, stomach acid, and some general-purpose white blood cells that just attack anything for it. But then you have your acquired immunity. This is the elite special forces unit. It's super specific, it learns from experience, and it deploys highly specialized assassins, cells called B cells and T cells, to hunt down one particular enemy.
And the real superpower of that elite force? It has a memory. The very first time your body sees a new germ, it launches a primary response. It works, but it's kind of slow and not that strong. But here's the magic. Your immune system never forgets. If that same bad guy ever dares to show up again, the system launches a secondary response that is way, way faster and overwhelmingly powerful. It often wipes out the invader before you even know you're sick.
So this immune system sounds pretty amazing, right? Almost invincible. But it's not. What happens when the guardian itself comes under attack? Or when the threat isn't coming from the outside at all?
This is what makes a virus like HIV, which causes AIDS, so devastating. It is the ultimate betrayal. HIV doesn't just try to sneak past the guards, it goes straight for the command center. It attacks the very immune cells that are supposed to be protecting us.
So here's its terrifying game plan. First, it infiltrates the helper T cells. These are the generals that coordinate the whole immune response. Then, it hijacks the cell's machinery, turning it into a little factory for making more of the virus. Soon, this hijacked cell is just pumping out new HIV, and as this happens, the number of healthy T cells plummets. The body's entire defense network just crumbles, leaving it vulnerable to almost anything.
But what happens when the enemy isn't an outside invader at all? What if the call is coming from inside the house? Well, that's the unique and terrible challenge of cancer. You see, healthy cells follow a very polite rule called contact inhibition. Basically, when they bump up against other cells, they know the space is full, and they stop dividing.
Cancer cells, they completely lose this off switch. They just keep dividing and dividing, ignoring all the rules and piling up on top of each other to form masses we call tumors.
Now, not all tumors are created equal. You have benign tumors, which pretty much stay put where they started. But then you have malignant tumors. These are the dangerous ones. They invade nearby tissue, and worse, they can metastasize. That means little bits can break off, travel through your blood, and start new tumors somewhere else in your body. And that one word, metastasis, is what makes cancer so incredibly feared.
Okay, so after all that, it can sound pretty grim. We're facing threats from the outside and from within. But we are not helpless. We can fight back. We can call for reinforcements.
And this is the absolute genius of vaccines. It's basically a boot camp for your immune system. We introduce a drill sergeant, a weak or dead version of a pathogen. This kicks off basic training, where your body mounts that slow, primary response. But the most important part, it creates veteran memory cells. These cells stick around, battle-ready. So if the real enemy ever shows up, they are primed to launch that massive, overwhelming secondary attack we talked about. It's brilliant. So winning this war isn't just about waiting for a fight. It's about being strategic. We can build up our external defenses with simple things like hygiene and clean water. We can cut off enemy supply lines by controlling things like mosquitoes. And of course, we can strengthen our internal troops with a good diet, exercise, and giving them that elite training through vaccination programs. It's all part of the same toolkit.
At the end of the day, this battle for your health is fought inside you, every moment of your life. Your body, your immune system, that is your first and your last line of defense. So the real question, the one I want to leave you with, is a personal one. How will you support it?